as you can see, we're not sitting on the fence, but unfortunately I think you have to be these days. You cannot do one thing without the other. And it's not, is it either behavioural change or technology, but how can you combine the two to get the best out of your people and your processes? Now, we did a survey last year, 3,000 companies, and as you can see, the top 3 results are here. The top barrier to reducing energy consumption is changing behaviour. The second is cost, and then there's the lack of time. It's one of our more precious resources, I feel. Now, what we've seen is the raft of new legislation that's been coming through lately. People have been loath to buy into it, but we've found that they can be used to very, very good effect. For example, carried out an EPC, we'd been saying how wonderful they were, and the building on a very, it was a 1960s office building. It was perceived as being very poor, and it was, let's see what we get. Well, they actually got a D grade. Everybody was really happy. And I did a DC on the same building, and as you can see, it shockingly got a G grade. They said they've got everything in place. They had a BMS, all the lighting was controlled. What they didn't realise is that everybody in the office block also knew how to override all those controls. So you've got to remember, an EPC is how a building should operate. It's an asset rating. A DC takes into account what goes on inside the building, how the people within that building actually operate it. Now, the role of technology is an enabler. It helps people. You can tell them till you're blue in the face that they really should do something about energy management, but it also helps, as Robert said, if you can show them how they can reduce it, what their actions do, it gives them the knowledge that they need to change. And it is a complementary activity as well. You can tell users that they can impact the energy efficiency, but unless you have a structure that they can act within, you get people doing all different things. This is, again, where AMR comes into place. It's opened up energy management to so many more buildings, so many more properties, because you can see what's going on. Now, this is a hotel chain. They had a BMS, which was working, but they installed some monitoring device, courtesy of TMAC, yes, hello Lisa. As you can see from this slide, this is the before slide. The average high was 16 kilowatt hours. The average was between 12 and 13. They had a very high base load. Now, this is a conference centre, a conference room, just used for meetings, but there's no day or night on that. There's a section in the middle where everything is left on. The air conditioning is left on for 2 weeks. So they focused on this area, speaking to the event staff, saying, what can you do to impact the consumption in this area? 5 months later, there is a significant impact. And this is shown, these graphs are then put up on the notice board so that people can see how they have impacted it. The high peak is now come down to the average. The average is half what it used to be. And it's still not 100%, but there are still clear day and night profiles, which is as it should be. I hate this picture. The other thing is with building management systems, sometimes people think that their activity is too small, but there are, if you like, mini BMSs in place. Now, this particular school was a Victorian building. It was listed, and they said there's nothing they can do for it. We went in and we invested some money with them, installed a BMS. They've saved enough to employ 2 full-time teachers in a year. Their DEC rating went from an F to a C in a year. That's because they left their heating and hot water on all year. They didn't realise that they could control it. Another one, a large public transport hub. Lots of lovely lighting, even in broad daylight. 50% reduction in cost. Now, that was outside the control of the employees. More examples. A large retailer had a huge budget to replace the fans in their car park. We did an audit and found out that they'd actually been over-specified, released loads of money for them, £120,000. And we also looked at the design of some places. A laboratory wanted growth rooms. A simple redesign of the lighting reduced the cost per room of the growth rooms from £95,000 to £20,000. This is all technology. As a business, I'm sure you've all heard of Team Green Britain. 17th of June, I believe, this year. And EDF have got very strong climate commitments. We're behind technology and we're behind people. And we believe that there is a part for both camps, technology and people.